Alright, so quick disclaimer, if you have no idea about ZVT at all and you don't even know anything about build orders or what the matchup is about or what the goals are or how it develops, then this video is probably not for you. If you don't know anything at all, I'm gonna put a video from day 9 in the description, and you should follow up all the other day 9 videos about ZVT to get a good picture about what the matchup is and what your goals are in order to survive, right? If you are somebody who knows all of these things but has problems figuring out how exactly to get to some of the stages of the game, then this might be a better video for you. So as you all know, there are multiple ways of approaching this matchup. There are multiple build orders, and and obviously for Terran as well. But we are gonna assume that it's the most standard one, which is SK Terran. There are videos for mech, and I'm also trying to figure out mech, but it's a different issue for me. I had problems with playing against SK Terran and implementing my build order, which is 2H Muta, as I have already mentioned in the other videos, or in the video before this one. And I have a replay lined up here against SK Terran. He's a C rank Terran that I met on the ladder. I don't know if he's actually C rank or if he's off racing. He didn't play particularly well, but neither did I, so I think it's okay. And as we know, as I mentioned before, there are multiple ways, and a lot of good players who really know a lot about the game, players who are really high ranked, they will recommend to Zergs to start out with lurkers against Terran. Probably something like 3H lurker. The reason for that is that it's probably the simplest way to play and also the best one to get a grasp for the matchup, right? It's not very micro dependent, and you are also not poor, you are kind of rich with 3 hatches, and I would say I agree, or at least I can understand where the recommendation is coming from. Personally, I still chose to play 2H Muta. I learned 3H Muta first, but it was I didn't like it. I chose to play 2H Muta because it's such a gritty knife fight like matchup, right? You can die at any second in the game and you need to do a lot of things correctly, and most importantly, it forces you to do one thing good. It forces you to do Muta micro. If you don't micro your mutas at all, you are just gonna die, right? If you micro them a little bit, I think it's okay. And it's what happened to me. I chose 2H Muta and I died a lot, and I keep dying a lot, and I keep failing to small things that I didn't understand or still not understand. But there are a couple of things which I will mention in this video, and those are the main things of this video, the main key takeaways that I got from playing and practicing ZVT in the past couple of days, 1-2 weeks, that I also got from other guides which are way more in-depth and way more advanced than my one, or this video, but I will also mention those in the description, right? So the one first thing and the most important thing in the early game for me, and for anyone actually, but for me to realize, is that this is the kind of build where you really need to nail your build order, right? You cannot fool around. You cannot, like, I don't know, be brain AFK and then skip doing something for like 5 seconds. You're gonna die or you're gonna be at a disadvantage. And that starts with taking the gas as soon as possible, right? So we play a typical 2-hatch 12 hatch game. You get the hatch at 12 at the net, you get the spawning pool at 11, and then immediately after, literally as you have 50 minerals, you need to put in the gas, and then you need to eye this extractor, right? You need to realize the extractor gonna be done in a couple of seconds, and you need to be able to send those Zerg drones as quickly as possible, which sometimes can be tricky because it's the same time as you send your scout around. So let's say this Terran is at 11 o'clock, it might be that I'm running around with this drone and trying to scout whether he's going gas first or whatever, or trying to harass an SCV. Meanwhile, the Zerg extractor is about to finish. and I cannot forget to put in my drones on the gas as quickly as possible, right? Obviously the whole optimization thing already starts at the mineral boosting part, but it's kind of advanced and not as important, I think, or at least not as important as these points, right? So the next step, obviously, at nailing your build order is to get the hatchery to get the lair as quickly as possible. So the second you hit 100 gas, you need to press that button, right? So the lair timing and the timings and the importance of timings is discussed in a guide that I'm going to post in the description, which is a guide by Striker and Jayun, discussing ZVT in depth. It's, I think, something around 2.53 or something, and 2 minutes 53 seconds, and I think I got it at 2:55, I think, or 2:56. So not ideal, but still, I think if it's under 3 minutes, it's not terrible. And before I actually was sure that this is something that you really need to nail, before I realized that it occasionally went to 3 minutes, right? Maybe it sometimes still will, right? So let me just check. It should be 2:56 or something in this game. So not good, but like not terrible. Yeah, 2:55, 2:54, 2:55, right? And then obviously once the lair finishes, you need to get in the spire as quickly as possible, right? So that's the main takeaway that I got from this game and from practicing. And it kind of goes into the next problem that you will be facing when you play this build, which is the Terran will sometimes have a bunch of marine medics ready to move out and hit you at a timing which is right before your mutas will spawn, right? Or sometimes as your mutas spawn, sometimes later than your mutas. And for you, the important part is figure out whether you will need one sunken, maybe two sunken, or no sunken at all, or maybe you should just get a creep colony and see if it really commits. It's a very intricate problem, which just, you cannot figure it out by watching videos, or not entirely. You need to practice and experience it yourself. You need to die to this first push, and you need to also manage to hold off the marines and medics, right? You can use your zerglings to harass the marines and medics to get some time. You can build an evolution chamber to block the marines and medics. Here I use the zerglings to harass a little bit, but it's still a little bit off till my spire finishes, right? But the Terran actually chooses to move out. And when I said you will die occasionally to this, what I mean is you will get scared like me and start building a sunk nonetheless, or regardless of any danger. I have tended to just be ready, and usually I opt to just build it instead of playing risky, because you also need to have really good or better Muta micro to be able to hold off any push without that sunk, right? So because my Muta micro is not ideal, I chose to build a sunken colony here. I see he's moving out. There are no medics there yet, so he's waiting for them, and I run back, but I will use those links to just harass him a little bit, just to get some time, because I see he's moving out, right? I built the creep colony, I built the sunk, the mutas are coming, and the fact that it's a cross spawn is actually something which eases my mind a little bit, but I still choose to build it. And ultimately I managed to, after harassing this a little bit, and of course this guy is not really looking towards, or like looking to protect his medics, so I could have just attacked the medics instead, but I messed it up. I get a little bit of, I save a little bit of time here, and I get out enough mutas to protect myself, and then attack his M&M army, right? And this push, right, and this narrow timing where you get the sunken colony, where you get your mutalisks out, this is the reason why you need to be so fast, right? Imagine I was 5 to 10 seconds later, I would be just, dead, or maybe almost dead, or maybe I would need 2 sunks and fall behind. So that's the reason. And once this happens to you and you die to it, you need to understand you died because your mutas are not early enough, right? And then once you see the value in that, you will sit down and practice the build order, try to nail it as efficiently as possible, right? So he sees there's a sunk, he sees there's nothing he can do, and I will snipe this army off. Which brings me to the next and final point of this video, or at least final takeaway, key point, is you need to have Muta micro. I mentioned this in the beginning. If you don't have any Muta micro at all, you're just gonna be in bad shape, right? Now Muta micro is really bad, but I keep practicing and I'm trying to implement at least a little bit, like trying to, let's say, kill this army, which I managed to do. And obviously there are multiple forms of Muta micro. There's Muta micro against an army like this, and there's also Muta micro against the base where you try to harass. And yeah, those are the points of the middle game, of the early game, before you reach the middle game. And from there, other points become more important, you know, like the fact that you need to decide on when and which fourth base to take. You need to get defilers and lurkers as quickly as possible, right? You need to monitor the Terran, and for multiple approaches that he might have, you know, he's gonna go into starport sometime soon. He's gonna try to get either science vessels or maybe drop ships or maybe both, you know. You are going to like this guy is not really good, right? He's not really macroing really well, and his army is really small, but a better Terran will have a much bigger army, and he will threaten to, and maybe not lose his Marine Medic Ball here, and then he will threaten to hit your third base or hit your natural again, right? He will pressure you, and Zerg's game against Terran who is equal to him will be mostly from a defensive position, right? So those are the points that I learned myself while trying to get better at this matchup. And what I do is I simply practice the build order, I practice nailing the timings. I'm going to go deeper into mineral optimization soon, just because it doesn't hurt. I mean, I'm not a good player, right? It's not as important. It's certainly not the priority for me, but I will still do it because I like to do it, right? And the second thing which I want to do, and which I'm going to do, and which isn't entirely fun all the time but has to be done, is practice Muta micro, right? There's this map, some of you may already know it, this Muta Python map. Just put in some hours at this map. Don't play it in single player like I did now. Just host a game, get it to, I don't know, TR 16 or all different TRs, you know, just try to practice with all the tournaments and then go play here, right? If you don't know exactly how to Muta micro, I will put a link in the description to a guy from Hawk who uses this map as well. He's really he's a really good player, and he's really good at explaining these well, the details of micro. I think his guide is probably the best, and it's relatively recent, right? So I'm just going to do the same thing until I reach new challenges that I don't understand, which will probably be very soon. And then we're just going to sit down and practice for those challenges and try to figure out how to deal with that, right? I mean, I guess a good next continuation would be dealing with mech, right? And I have been trying to do that as well, because some opponents just play mech. But this one was the priority because it's so difficult, and this part is only the start, right? The really hard part is when you reach late game and you need to work with defilers and lurkers, and then switch to links and ultras and use Scourge to snipe science vessels, etc. So this is just the beginning, and hopefully we will have enough knowledge in the early game to advance enough times to the end game to face those problems, right? Anyway, be sure to follow me on stream while I'm trying to achieve all of the stuff that I'm talking about, and hope to see you in the next video.